At family dinner, my older sister looked at my younger sister and said, "You need to have my baby since I can't get pregnant, and you owe me after everything I've done for you." I watched Emma's face go pale and realized I was witnessing something that would destroy her life if I didn't act immediately. I'm Rachel, a 26-year-old senior family therapist earning $89,000 annually at one of the state's most respected counseling centers. My specialization in family manipulation dynamics and trauma recovery has given me extensive training in recognizing coercive behavior patterns. What I was seeing unfold between my sisters wasn't just family drama. It was systematic psychological manipulation that would have devastating consequences if left unchecked. Diana, my 32-year-old sister, had always been controlling, but this surrogacy demand represented an escalation that triggered every professional alarm I'd been trained to recognize. Emma, our 20-year-old sister, was displaying classic signs of coercive control victim responses. The nervous, hair-twisting, shoulder tension, inability to immediately refuse unreasonable demands. As someone who'd spent 4 years studying family systems therapy and 2 years specializing in reproductive coercion cases, I knew exactly what I was witnessing. What Diana didn't understand was that her systematic manipulation of Emma had been happening in front of someone with professional expertise in dismantling exactly these types of psychological control structures. My master's degree in clinical psychology, combined with my specialized training in family trauma intervention, meant I had both the knowledge and professional resources to protect Emma in ways Diana couldn't anticipate. My professional network included reproductive rights attorneys, medical ethics specialists, and psychological evaluators who could provide independent assessments. More importantly, I had access to comprehensive documentation systems that I used in my clinical practice. Every concerning interaction I'd witnessed between Diana and Emma over the past months had been cataloged using the same systematic approach I employed with my most complex client cases. Diana's vulnerability was her complete underestimation of my professional capabilities and her assumption that family loyalty would prevent me from intervening. She saw me as just another sister, not as someone whose career was built on protecting vulnerable individuals from exactly the type of manipulation she was employing. Her overconfidence in her ability to control both Emma and the narrative would become her critical weakness. The financial dynamics also strongly favored my position. My therapist's salary provided me with financial independence and professional credibility that Diana couldn't match. Unlike Diana, who was financially dependent on her husband Marcus and his controlling mother, Mrs. Brennan, I had the resources to support Emma's independence if necessary. I maintained an emergency fund specifically for crisis intervention situations, something my profession had taught me to prioritize. My strategic advantage extended beyond financial resources. Through my work at the counseling center, I had direct access to medical professionals who specialized in reproductive health ethics. Dr. Jennifer Foster, our center's consulting psychiatrist, had extensive experience evaluating the psychological readiness of surrogacy candidates. Her professional assessments carried legal weight that could override family pressure or manipulative tactics. The evening of that dinner, I immediately began implementing a systematic intervention strategy. My first step was creating a comprehensive documentation file using the same clinical assessment tools I employed with my therapy clients. I documented Emma's physical stress responses, Diana's manipulation tactics, and the concerning timeline of escalating pressure. This wasn't emotional reaction. This was professional protocol being applied to protect a vulnerable family member. Within 48 hours, I had conducted a thorough risk assessment using standardized psychological evaluation criteria. Emma's responses to my clinical questionnaires indicated severe stress, anxiety about bodily autonomy, and classic indicators of someone being coerced into major life decisions. Her score on the reproductive autonomy assessment scale was critically low, indicating she was not making free, informed choices about her reproductive future. I scheduled an immediate consultation with Dr. Foster to review Emma's psychological profile and develop a professional intervention strategy. Dr. Foster's assessment was unequivocal. Emma was exhibiting signs of psychological distress consistent with coercive reproductive pressure. She recommended immediate removal from the manipulative environment and comprehensive psychological support. Armed with professional documentation and expert medical opinions, I arranged for Emma to meet with Lisa Mitchell, a nurse practitioner who specialized in reproductive health counseling. Lisa's role was to provide Emma with complete, unbiased medical information about pregnancy, surrogacy, and the long-term physical consequences Diana had been minimizing or concealing. Lisa's 2-hour educational session with Emma was strategically designed to counter Diana's manipulation with factual medical information. She explained pregnancy complications, permanent bodily changes, psychological risks of surrogate pregnancies, and the legal complexities Diana had been glossing over. Most importantly, she documented Emma's expressed concerns and reservations, creating an official medical record of Emma's reluctance. The nurse practitioner's formal assessment letter stating Emma was not psychologically or physically prepared for pregnancy served multiple strategic purposes. It provided Emma with professional validation for her concerns, gave her an official document to present to Diana, and created legal documentation of expert medical opinion opposing the surrogacy arrangement. When Diana exploded over the medical assessment letter, her reaction revealed the true extent of her desperation and willingness to override professional medical advice. Her accusations that I had bribed a medical professional to write false assessments demonstrated her complete lack of understanding of medical ethics and professional standards. This outburst provided additional documentation of her manipulative mindset and disrespect for medical authority. Diana's admission that she had already told Mrs. Brennan's extended family about the pregnancy plan before Emma had officially agreed was a critical strategic error. This revelation proved that Diana had never intended to give Emma real choice in the matter. She had made public commitments based on assumed compliance, trapping Emma through social pressure and family expectations. My professional training had prepared me for exactly this type of manipulation escalation. I immediately contacted my supervisor at the counseling center to discuss the ethical implications of my family situation and ensure I was following proper protocols for protecting vulnerable individuals. My supervisor confirmed that my intervention was not only appropriate, but professionally obligated, given the clear signs of psychological coercion. The next phase of my strategy involved expanding Emma's support network beyond family influence. I connected her with a social worker who specialized in young adult independence transitions, providing Emma with resources for educational planning, housing options, and financial independence. This wasn't just emotional support, it was systematic empowerment designed to give Emma concrete alternatives to remaining under Diana's control. I also initiated contact with a reproductive rights attorney through my professional network. Attorney Michael Harrison specialized in cases involving reproductive coercion and could provide Emma with legal information about her rights, the enforceability of any agreements she might have made under duress, and protection options if Diana continued her pressure campaign. Diana's decision to quit her job to focus on preparing for the baby represented a desperate escalation that actually strengthened my strategic position. By making herself financially vulnerable and increasing her dependence on Mrs. Brennan's support, Diana had raised the stakes for herself while providing additional evidence of the unreasonable pressure she was placing on Emma. When I confronted Diana directly about her manipulation tactics, her emotional breakdown revealed the full scope of the psychological pressure she was experiencing from Mrs. Brennan. However, understanding Diana's victimization by her mother-in-law didn't change the fact that she was victimizing Emma. My professional training had taught me that explaining abuse doesn't excuse perpetuating it. Diana's revelation that she had been planning to use Emma's eggs in addition to her body for surrogacy represented a complete betrayal of the original agreement and proved that Emma had never been given accurate information about what she was being asked to sacrifice. Using clinical assessment criteria, this constituted informed consent violation and reproductive fraud. The fertility clinic consultation became the decisive battleground where my strategic planning paid off. Emma's honest disclosure of her concerns and reservations to the physician, combined with her documented stress symptoms and psychological evaluation, resulted in the doctor's professional recommendation against surrogacy. This medical opinion carried legal weight that superseded family pressure or emotional manipulation. Emma's strategic pivot to offering egg donation while maintaining her bodily autonomy demonstrated that she had internalized the empowerment strategies we had been working on. Her ability to present alternative solutions while setting firm boundaries about her physical involvement showed significant psychological growth and recovery from the coercive environment. Diana's continued attempts to control Emma's preparation for egg donation revealed that she still viewed Emma as a resource to be managed rather than an autonomous individual making free choices. Her monitoring of Emma's diet, exercise, and activities during hormone treatment demonstrated the controlling mindset that had created this crisis in the first place. When Diana suggested Emma should move back home after the baby was born to help raise her genetic child, Emma's recognition that this was another manipulation tactic showed how effectively our intervention had worked. Emma now had the psychological tools to identify attempts at long-term control and the confidence to reject them. The final confrontation occurred when Emma chose to postpone the procedure entirely until after establishing her independence through university transfer. This decision represented complete victory for our intervention strategy. Emma had reclaimed her autonomy and was making decisions based on her own timeline rather than Diana's desperation or Mrs. Brennan's pressure. Diana's explosive reaction to Emma's decision, cutting her off completely and declaring she wasn't really part of the family, provided perfect documentation of the conditional nature of Diana's love and the manipulative foundation of their relationship. This reaction validated every concern I had raised about Diana's controlling behavior and Emma's need for independence. Emma's successful transfer to university, where she's now majoring in social work, represents the complete success of our intervention strategy. She has developed the professional interest and personal strength to help others in similar situations, transforming her victimization into empowerment and purpose. The long-term consequences for Diana have been exactly what her behavior merited. Mrs. Brennan's withdrawal of financial support when the surrogacy plan collapsed, combined with Marcus finally setting boundaries with his mother's interference, forced Diana to confront the unsustainable foundation she had built her life upon. Diana's eventual apology letter and acknowledgement of the manipulation she had employed came only after she had lost her leverage over Emma and been forced into therapy. While this represents growth, it also confirms that her behavioral change occurred only after her manipulation tactics had been systematically dismantled and rendered ineffective. The counseling Diana and Marcus are now attending has helped them redirect their parental desires toward adoption, a path that doesn't require exploiting vulnerable family members. Their decision to pursue parenthood through legitimate channels, rather than coercive family manipulation, represents genuine progress toward healthier relationship patterns. Emma's continued caution in rebuilding her relationship with Diana demonstrates healthy boundary maintenance and realistic assessment of the potential for manipulation recurrence. Her insistence on maintaining physical and emotional distance while slowly re-establishing contact shows she has internalized the self-protection strategies we developed during the crisis intervention. Today, Emma thrives in her university program. Diana has been forced into healthier relationship patterns through professional counseling, and Mrs. Brennan's manipulative influence has been permanently reduced through Marcus's boundary setting. The systematic intervention prevented a young woman's exploitation while forcing the dysfunctional family system to reorganize around respect for individual autonomy rather than coercive control.